battery issue.
What about now? Can you hear me now? No? What about now? Can you hear me now? But I can hear me. No? So mine's working. But I can hear me. So mine's working.
I got blinking now.
I got a blinking light.
We're sweet. All right, we got audio on both. You can hear both of us now. We ready to rock? All right, we got audio on both. You can hear both of us now. We ready to rock? All right, we can mute this down now. All right, we'll make sure we can see all these comments because I'm sure you're going to get a lot of damn
I won't
comments.
get a lot of comments.
You want to bet on
I'm
that?
saying, what's this guy saying? We can't understand him.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to understand you, mate. I think they're going to understand you. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you jumping on here. We'll give everybody a few minutes to jump on here real quick. We'll start this out nice and light. Let's see here. Let me get this up here so I can make sure to get all this on here. All right, we got both of us on here. Larry says we're good to rock. I like that, Larry. Thank you so much. Larry's probably like our #1 follower on here. Larry's the damn man. All right, y'all. Here we go. We're just going to start rocking this because we got a limited amount of time here. We've got a very special guest. My good friend Andy Stewart. Welcome to the show, brother. AKA Northern Monkey.
The Northern Monkey.
AKA Sniper. I got in trouble with a couple of my buddies for calling you a Northern Monkey. And I was like, he called himself the Northern Monkey. I don't know. Y'all have all these weird damn words and stuff like we talked about last night. That, you know, in the UK it means one thing. In the US it means something else. But in the UK it means something else. I mean, I really enjoyed calling my friend a fanny the other night. Like,
yeah, well, you couldn't do that in UK.
But you know what? I'm really chuffed to have you here today, mate. I'm thoroughly chuffed to have you here.
Chuffed. That's another good word.
That was my word.
Do they not have that?
I've been waiting.
Do they not have that in America? Chuffed.
No, I had no idea. My buddy Miguel said that to me on a text message, and I was like, "What in the fuck is chuffed?"
Yes.
Yeah, see, I did it in the first 5 minutes. See, I told you. So that's what happened. I've been golfing.
You're on a yellow card.
I'm already on there. I'm already on there.
Do you know what a yellow card is?
Yeah, I already got the yellow card. Well, let's get into this. Let's tell everybody. Let's get into a little bit about who the man, the myth, the legend is. So we've got Andy Stewart here. 41 years, am I correct? Or are we more now? Because I keep this retirement, not retired thing.
Yeah, not retired now.
We got at least 40 years service here between the British and Canadian forces, right?
Yeah, 41. Yeah.
41.
Yeah.
All right. So we got 41 years here minimum. It depends on how many times y'all count his retirements. And if he ever is going to retire, I don't know. I mean, his wife might retire him. I mean, so y'all know he comes on this golf trip with me every year. I get to join these guys on this. And it's also his anniversary this week.
How do you know that?
How you pull this off, man?
Do you stalk me?
I mean, how do you know? I mean, I know all this. You talk about these things. You just don't think we remember these things. I mean, you got that anniversary shirt. You got to wear this.
Yeah, I'm going to wear it.
I mean, maybe, hey, just in case your wife is watching this, I'm this guy. I'm this guy. The Garrett guy with the
Garrett guy.
Yeah. So, married. What's this anniversary? Is this a big one? Are you missing a big one? 'Cause, I mean, I know y'all been together for a long time.
It's not a significant one.
Okay. Not that they're not all significant. All of them are significant.
44 years?
44 years.
44?
What were you, 10 when you got married?
No, I was 17.
Oh, all right. So when you all met, I mean, how long did you guys date? Like,
So we was at school.
Okay.
We were both schoolies.
Okay.
I joined the army at 17 years old, and then what was to be my mother-in-law tried to break up the relationship between myself and my girlfriend at the time, who was 16. And
oh man,
and
we're already getting. See, I told y'all, we're already getting good stuff right out the gate here.
So I came back on a bit of a break from my training.
Okay.
And I get back to see my girlfriend, and the mother-in-law wasn't best pleased, and I got sent packing. But what she didn't realise at the time was when she sent me packing, my girlfriend came with me, and so we both left together.
Wow.
And we went over to. We was too young to get married in England. You've got to be 18 years old.
Okay.
Without parents' consent.
Okay.
So we.
And you weren't getting the mother-in-law's consent.
Oh, no chance.
That was not
no
happening.
chance. So we both decided to go to Scotland, and we went to Scotland, and we got married there at 17 and 16 years old.
Wow. And still happily
married.
40-something years later.
Still happily
You
married.
don't hear that a lot these days.
No. And I
know
don't.
you have 2 beautiful daughters, right?
I've got 2 daughters. One that's
both
living.
married.
Yeah, one that's living. I've got one with a.
One with a.
One with a.
Ah, he's the one that's over in like New Zealand, right?
He's one here. He's one in Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
He's the one in Hamilton, and I've got a daughter that moved over here, and another daughter that moved over to New Zealand.
Okay.
So, but I said we got married really quite young, 17 to 16 years old, and then what happened? One of the reasons we got married was because the military give you a house. The military give you a house to live in.
Okay.
And so therefore this was
if you were married, but you had to be
we had
married
to be married
to the house, so you didn't have to
So
stay
we
in
went
the
to
barracks.
Scotland. We got married really young.
So you could
we
see
came
the
back
system.
and we did. And they also when they give you a house, it comes furnished. It doesn't have a great deal. You don't have a TV and all that kind of stuff. But it had It had a bed and furniture and everything else. So that was fantastic. And so we'd been married about a week, and the police came knocking on my door. A big copper. Do you know what a copper is?
No.
A copper's a policeman.
Oh, okay. Copper.
So a copper comes knocking on the door, bangs on the door, and he said to me, "Are you Andy Stewart?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "We understand that you have taken away Mrs. Wend Hanson's daughter, and she wants her returning." I said, "Well, she's not going to be returning because I've got a wedding certificate here, a marriage certificate, to say we're now married." So he looked at the marriage certificate. He said, "I'm really sorry to have bothered you, sir," and went away. The next day, I got my balls roasted by the commanding officer after the police had contacted him for abducting my wife.
Abducting?
I abducted her. I took her away to Scotland.
Mission here,
yeah,
right?
I took her away and we got married and that was it. And so and then soon after that, we then got moved to Germany. But we had nothing at the time. I've got to tell you, Garrett, we had barely any friends, to be quite honest with you. We didn't know anybody. It was the tough start. And then when we moved house for the first time, we moved house with 8 carrier bags. We had 4 carrier bags each, 2 in each hand, with all our belongings in. That's all we had.
Okay.
And then that's how we moved house.
16 and 17-year-old.
Yeah, with 8
breaking jail, moving out on their own, joining the army.
moving to Germany.
Moved to Germany.
Yeah, and we couldn't speak German. So I moved over to Germany.
And you both were born and raised in the UK, right?
Yeah. We're both Brits, yeah.
All right.
So I go over to Germany because there wasn't a military house for us in Germany. So after a bit of looking round, so I had to leave Sue back in the UK. So after a bit of looking round, we found a private hiring. And this private hiring was an apartment above a gay bar called the Pink Elephant.
You lived above the Pink Elephant.
Yeah.
All right. This sounds very fitting.
17 and 16 years old,
Very
newlyweds
impressionable.
in Germany, can't speak a word of German between us, living above a gay bar.
That sounds like a great time.
It was strange.
And she's still married to you today.
Well,
After this fantastic start of you kidnapping her on your early James Bond missions,
let's face it.
taking her to Germany,
Let's face it,
moving her
Garrett.
above a gay bar.
She's only human.
I mean, man, I don't know what you're doing right, but you're doing something right to have maintained all this. I mean, like, this is epically good. Like, I mean, this like doesn't surprise me at all. Like, this is the type of Andy story I have come to expect. I mean, like, whether it's your shirt.
I'll tell you something. It's going to go downhill from here.
Oh, we're gonna go way downhill. Like, we're probably gonna get banned off Facebook or something. I mean, I really don't know, but why not?
Right.
I'll do it again. Fuck it. Why not? It's my show, my podcast. Don't like it? Don't listen.
2 yellow cards.
2 yellow cards. I'm about to be banned, y'all. Like, my own guest is giving me yellow cards now. So
Now.
all right. So let's I guess let's just start with the army.
Yeah.
In the UK, because you've served for the British forces and Canadian forces, which I don't know many people that have served in multiple countries' special forces, which you seem to have just do everything. I mean, you just find a way somehow, and you can retire and unretire. We'll get into all this, but where do you want to start in the military? You want to start with the UK? Like,
we might as well go. So we get married.
Get married.
And then we move over to Germany.
All right.
It's the height of the Cold War.
All right.
It's there when we had 100,000 British soldiers serving in Germany.
And what did you originally go in to do in the army?
So I was guided by my father.
Okay.
And my father said, if you're going to join the army, he said, you've got to get a trade.
Yep.
So I wasn't really interested in getting a trade at the time, but it was sound advice. And he said to me, I need you to get a trade, and so they find something you want to do.
Yeah.
And I was interested in engines. So I became, I trained as a mechanic. I trained as a vehicle technician. And so I spent most of my non-commissioned life as a corporal and a sergeant and a master warrant officer, which you would have in Canada and America. I spent most of my life as a mechanic or managing mechanics and keeping the tanks on the road.
As a mechanic.
Yeah, as a mechanic. And then that was all the time when the Cold War was on. And so we had some fantastic times there. Went to Berlin when the Berlin Wall was up. That was hell of an experience.
Yeah.
So I've got to tell you a little story.
Okay.
About the wife in Berlin.
The wife in Berlin. So she survives living above the gay bar.
Yeah.
Now we're in Berlin.
So we've got friends. We've got friends in Berlin.
Right.
And we have to go there on a special train.
Okay.
On the Berlin Express. And when you pick up a train and you get locked in by guards, they chain the doors and have armed guards on the door. You're not allowed in and out. So we go from Hanover over the border. They then change the locomotive and put an East German locomotive on a Russian one. And it pulls you through East Germany, as it was then. And then it gets to West Berlin, and then they change the locomotive again, and it pulls you in the last little piece. And now we're in West Berlin, okay? And we're staying with friends. Anyway, my wife's seen more James Bond films and spy thrillers than you can imagine. So she's all kind of
my type of lady.
She's all kind of worried about. She's all kind of worried about this.
Yeah.
So I take her out for a meal.
Just wanted to know if you're like auditioning for Kingsman already.
Oh, we're there.
Yeah. All right.
So we're there. We're in this big, rather nice hotel with a very, very posh restaurant. I mean, this is Grand Piano. The guy had tails.
Like Elton John.
It was all going.
Yeah.
He was doing the business.
All right.
And so I'm there with the friends we're staying with, and in order to get into, and we're in East Berlin now. We've moved over.
Okay.
We've gone for supper across the wall through Checkpoint Charlie. You remember Checkpoint Charlie?
No.
You never heard of Checkpoint Charlie?
No.
So that was the crossing point between West Berlin and East Berlin.
Okay, and you don't have to take the train. You can just walk
so we go
through
through
the wall, gate in the wall or something.
We've got to go in uniform.
Okay.
And we've got to be back over. It's a bit like Cinderella. You've got to be back over by 12 o'clock.
Okay.
But it was cheap as chips, fries, cheap as chips to go over.
Okay.
So we get our money exchanged to East German marks. We go over to the restaurant, and we sat there. Me and my friend in our best uniforms, and the two ladies. And I've got to tell you, it was taking a long time to be served. We was just drinking and having fun, me and this guy, and my wife's getting more and more nervous. Eh? And eventually, she said to me, I think that they keep looking at us. I think that they think we, I think the spies are looking at us. And I said to her, as a bit of a joke, I said to her, look, in the middle of the table was a bunch of flowers, this little posy of flowers. So I went over to this posy of flowers and I went, we'd like to order now, please. And I shit you not, this woman came out. She said, can I take your order? My wife absolutely freaked out at this, because the timing couldn't have been better if it tried.
That's perfect. That's awesome. That sounds like something you would do too.
Yeah.
Like I totally can see you doing this.
So now we spend quite a few years in Germany.
Okay. Like how many? Like 2, 3, 4, 5?
So we spend, maybe 10 years in Germany. And I leave Germany for my next assignment. So we got posted to a couple of different regiments within. I've been over to Canada quite a few times by then with the army and all that kind of stuff, on exercise, on manoeuvres. And then it was time for me to get posted somewhere else. Well, I had a friend in the army that kind of took a shine to me. This guy took a bit of a shine to me. Okay. And he got posted to Hong Kong. And I said, I'd love to get posted there. And he arranged for that to happen. So we leave Germany.
And go to Hong Kong.
With a kiddie that's less than a year old, and we fly 16 hours to Hong Kong.
Okay.
So that was quite an interesting...
Keep the adventure going.
So that was quite an interesting little ride. So we live in Hong Kong, and we're living there for 3 years before Hong Kong was given back to the Chinese, because it was kind of controlled by the Brits at the time.
Hong Kong was controlled by the Brits at the time. What time period are we talking about? Like late 70s?
So this
80s?
was the late 80s, so about 89 to 92, something like that.
Okay.
So that's when I was there. And while I was there, I got a little itch I needed to scratch. So I joined the army to be a soldier, not to be a mechanic. My dad said to me, get a trade, be the mechanic. But while I was in Hong Kong, I was the manager of a rather large workshop for vehicles. We used to repair all the vehicles. And the guy, I used to have a Chinese foreman lead that used to look after all the Chinese workers. And so therefore my job was kind of redundant. I didn't have a great deal to do. And so, but I had to be there. If I wasn't there, they didn't work. And when I was there, I had nothing to do because they all worked. Okay. So I got kind of bored. But because I had this little itch I needed to scratch, I decided to prepare myself for a special course. So I went skydiving, I went scuba diving, I went and got myself rather fit, and then left my wife in the UK with two children, 1 3 and one just born, in fact 1 2.5 and one just born, and I go back to the UK to do Special Forces selection.
So now we're going SES.
Yes.
All right.
So I go back to UK to do that, and that was quite interesting. But before I go back, I say to the guy, I said to Sue, "Do you want any more kids?" And she says, "That's me done, 2. I'm good enough." I said, "Right, I'll go for the snip." So I went and had the old clackers done. Okay. I get the clackers, I get them snipped. Okay, right. Just before I go back, but I'm on the cusp of going back, and so I hadn't quite done the tests, the old. So I have the first test done in Hong Kong, but now I'm back in the UK and I have to go and get my second sample tested to make sure I'm clear.
Okay.
So I go to the medical center, military medical center, and there was this delightful young lady, very, very pretty. And she said to me, the sample, she said, you need to bring it in on Monday. And I said, okay. So I had to go do what I had to do with the little sample bottles And on the Monday, I went back to the medical centre with my samples. And this delightful young lady was there again. And I said, I've brought the samples. She said, I'm really sorry, sir. She said, today is a holiday and they won't process the samples. I said, really? She said, can you come again tomorrow? I said, not a problem, love.
Not a problem. We can make arrangements for that.
And it's exactly true. That's exactly what happened. Can you come again tomorrow? Yeah, no problem. I can do that.
That's awesome. All right. Before we keep going down that road, you tell me if it'd be better to ask later. So you have like super traditional military tattoos on your forearms.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure these have great stories.
So I got kind of, not really, kind of. So the early tattoos, which one? This one, I got them done when I was 15.
Okay, so before you went into...
Before I joined the army, and I was still at school.
You wanted to look the part.
So, the first one, this one, I had, do you know the old Indian ink and you used to do that stabby thing and all that?
Yeah.
And I had this shitty thing on my arm. So this one covers up a shitty tattoo.
Okay.
That's why I had that one done. But this one was done after I had a fight with my father.
Okay.
I had a fight with my dad when I was about 15 years old. We had this big bust up.
Okay.
And it wasn't pretty. Smashed a few things in the house. And so I thought, a bit of a rebel there. What can I do that he can't change? So I go and get this tattoo done at 15 years old. And now I'm wearing this this elasticated bandage over the top. Because I've had it done, but it's still all scabby and everything.
Yeah, it's still fresh.
And my father said to me, what have you done to your arm? I said, nothing. He says, what have you done to your arm? I said, I've had a tattoo. And he went, let's have a look. So I took it off and he said, oh, that's quite nice. It just didn't have the impact that I thought it was going to have.
Yeah.
So that was them two tattoos. And this one here was when you joined the army back then, it was when the Troubles was on, Northern Ireland. And so most servicemen at the time when the Troubles was on went over and did an operational tour in Northern Ireland.
Okay.
And so loads of guys got shot, So this one here is your blood group. So it's how a lot of guys of my era used to have this tattooed on their hands. So blood group O positive in case you had come up with an injury. So that's really what they are.
Okay.
But apart from that,
that's cool. That's better than my tattoo stories. I mean, the one on my arm, it was just my first one. It's tribal because I have some Cherokee in me.
Right.
And I did tribal. And then I had this design from a t-shirt that I swore I was going to get. And I wanted it across my shoulder blades. Well, instead of being smart and going to like a really good tattoo artist, I'm drinking tequila and whiskey and hanging out with some friends and my buddies. He did this, my friend Karan, he got this awesome tattoo of his newborn daughter all on his arm. And I'm like, if he did that, like, cool, you can do it. He's like, oh yeah, I'll hook you up. Hook me up. So we go over to my parents' house and literally sit in the backyard getting waxed. And I laid down and all he had was the tracing needle.
oh,
So he did my whole shoulder tattoo with a tracing needle. Leg going numb, arm going numb, fingers going numb. I'm hammered. It's bad. I'm going to have to get a cover up done on it or something. Like, nobody wants to touch it. Or maybe have it lasered so that I can have a better tattoo done over it. I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out. But yeah, those are the only two I have so far. But I'm dying. Like, I'm getting ready. I have some designs done for sleeve. Like, I'm really... Just so you don't regret any of the tattoos.
I don't regret any of them, no.
Totally good with
I mean,
them. Like, my dad had, when he was in the army, he got a goddamn Playboy bunny tattooed on his hand right here. Like, luckily he had dark enough hair and like you could just kind of see, like, you wouldn't see it all the time, like, and he could hold his hand a certain way where you wouldn't see it, but you really looked like he had a Playboy bunny tattooed on his hand. Not as good a story.
No.
So you tried out and made SES first time?
Well,
or did we have to...
It was a strange one, So to join the SAS, you have to already be serving. You can't just join the
Yeah,
SAS.
yeah. You have to be invited, and you have to pass.
Yeah,
all
so you
the-
have to. There's quite a lot of
It's
things.
kind of like what would you, for those that don't know, because I mean a lot of our listeners are all going to be Americans. So, in my understanding, I'm going to equate SAS to like Delta Force,
Delta,
basically.
yeah.
Basically like Delta Force
Or SEALs.
or Navy
Yeah,
SEALs.
Navy SEALs. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I did was I came back from Hong Kong, left the wife, like I say, back in Hong Kong with the two kiddies, and then I came back to the first part of the training is what they call the hills. You go to the hills in Brecon, and you get pounded for a few weeks. Is the best way to describe it, and it's a little bit like, I suppose you'd equate it to your Hell Week.
Okay. Like Hell Week. Go ahead, keep going. I'm
So
just making sure we're good up here.
So it's a little bit like Hell Week. So you go through the selection phase. And then what
Okay.
they do, when you pass the selection piece, the arduous, physical, demanding piece, doing the hills, and then you then go from there, and then they take you into the jungle.
Okay.
And you do jungle warfare training. After the jungle warfare training, then you do other parts of training. Okay?
Okay.
And then at the end of it, after the 6 months or so, then you pass, if you stay. So I
Do you have like the whole thing like ringing the bell too? Like if you want to quit, like
it's not
your
like
brother's
that.
trying to
It's
quit.
not like that
and
at
stuff.
all. It's very it's up to you. There's no pressure at all. Absolutely no pressure. If you don't want to get out of bed, you don't get out of bed. That's you failed. It's up to you. It's all self-motivating.
Okay.
And they just tell you where to be at what time the next day, and then you're there the next day at a certain time, and then you do whatever you're told, and you just do it. You know, whether it's physical, whether it's swimming, whether it's...
So it's not as much as the like mental mind game as what like.
None of that. That comes later as a different
Yeah.
part of the course.
Okay.
So they do the physically demanding piece first, which gets you through the door to what they call continuation training.
Okay.
And then the continuation training that's when you do the resistance to arrest. It's where you do the special weapons week, where you learn about foreign weapons.
Okay.
It's where you do. There's various things that you do that you go along. But I was in the jungle at the time in Brunei, which is a different story. But I'm in the jungle, and things just didn't kind of work out for me. There was a couple of people left for all sorts of reasons. We was blowing the shit up out of things. We was killing animals and stuff out there. But and a few people realised when they're there that it wasn't for them, and I was one of them people. So I'll just give it a little part of the story before we go to the jungle.
Okay.
Before we get there, so all these people, there's about 38 of us out of a startup of 120 start the course, and by the end of the selection, there was 38 people left.
Okay.
Okay. Then we all fly to the jungle. I get into this training, and one of the guys, he just gets up and says, "I'm going home." And the guy said, "Why?" And he said that we'd put an ambush in the jungle and blown it to pieces, and all the trees were bleeding like rubber, all the white stuff coming out of them.
Yeah.
And the guy says, "I could not do that to another human being." He said, I can't, kill people and stuff. And that's what, when you join the SAS, that's what it's about. And so if you can't kill somebody, why are you here? A lot of people actually think that going to, and they'll do for the Delta Force, they think it's just a physical alpha male, physical test of endurance or whatever. But it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's much more than that. If you can't kill somebody, don't go.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. As then more people leave. I came to a point where I was being used. I was the mechanic, and the other guys that was on the course was parachute regiment. There was Royal Marines.
Yeah.
There was infanteers. There was all professional soldiers, and they'd been professional soldiers for a long time. But I wasn't. I was this mechanic.
You're a mechanic.
And so every time that you did a task in the jungle, if you didn't do it properly, you kind of got penalised. And so nobody wanted to get penalised for anything in the jungle, whether it was they took your A-frame away that you slept in, you had to sleep on the floor, whatever it was, they'd penalise you for something if you got it wrong. And so I was the guy that always carried the shit. I was always the guy at the back. I was always the guy, because they didn't trust anything that I did, and I kept on volunteering for stuff with my team, but they'd never let me do it because I wasn't the guy that had the previous training. in the end, I just sat there one day and said, this isn't for me. And I said, I want to go home as well. So I left the jungle, decided it wasn't for me, and that was me finished. So I went back to Hong Kong, finished my time there, and then continued with a full career in the British Army.
So what did you change over to after that? After you decided you didn't want to do SAS anymore?
So then I went back. I went back to Hong Kong. I picked up the wife and the kids then.
Yeah.
And she was really quite pleased. And actually, one of the strange things, and I didn't realise, because you're alpha male doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realise this was happening. So I fly back into Hong Kong, and the wife's there to meet me at the airport, at Kai Tak Airport, which was lovely. And I'm like,
yeah, you've been in the jungle with a bunch of guys.
And I'm like a racing split pin. I'm weighing about half my weight that I am now. There's nothing left on me. Anyway, so I need a good feeding. But she's there to meet me at the airport, which is great. So I get off the aircraft and I see her there, and she's got a baseball cap on. My wife never wears a baseball cap, ever.
Yeah, like mine has to be like in the sun, like really knowing she's about to be exposed. And like it ain't for long though. Like she doesn't wear.
But she never wears a baseball cap, and I thought it was pretty strange. So I'm looking at her, and she picks me up, and we drive home back to our place in Hong Kong, and she's still got the baseball cap in the house. She's still wearing it. And I said to her, "What's with the baseball cap thing?" She took it off, and she was bald. Bald as a coot. She was worried, concerned about. I'd been sending letters to her, written letters, before emails and all that crap. So I'd been sending things saying, trying to keep her up to date with this male bravado shit, saying this has been really dangerous and I've fucking near-death experience and all this kind of stuff. And she's going, oh yeah, enjoy yourself, But I didn't realise the effect it was having on her until she took the baseball cap off and she was bald as a coot. Her hair's grown back since, but I didn't realise the effect I was having on her.
So just from stress
of me
worrying about you,
absolutely.
From what you were sending her as messages and how you were.
Yeah.
Wow, that's intense, man.
Yeah. You don't realise, do you?
Yeah, I mean, you don't realize
especially if you get supported. She's looking after the two kiddies.
Yeah, and she's just trying to support you.
You're doing what you want to do. So that was an itch. It was an itch I needed to scratch. And then when it went away, people said to me, did you ever regret leaving the jungle? And I said, no, because my family is far more important to me than joining the SAS.
But you still went on to do a lot of amazing things. I mean, like, I've seen pictures of you, and I mean, no bullshit, y'all. Like, I've seen pictures. Like, I'll have to find one. I have one somewhere that I've like either stolen off of his Facebook or that I got him to send me. But this man is decorated from like here to here. Like, there are literally pictures of him standing next to the Queen.
Yeah.
And from what I also know, like, you had Harry and William to train at certain points, or at least there with him. Like,
when Harry and William came over when they joined the army, William, because he's going to be a future monarch, he's going to be the future king after Charles.
Yeah.
They have a tendency, as Charles did, have a tendency to serve in each of the forces. So they do the Air Force.
All of them.
Yeah, so they do the Air Force for a year, they do the Navy for a year, and they do the Army for a year. And when Harry and William joined, they both decided to join the Household Cavalry Regiment, which is an armoured regiment based in Windsor, UK, not Windsor, Ontario.
Okay.
So, and it's because they could go back to London.
Clarification, because all these guys that I'm here with, or the majority of them that I'm in here golfing with Myrtle Beach, they're all from Windsor, Canada.
Windsor, Ontario. Correctamundo. Yeah. So these guys joined the Household Cavalry Regiment. They were in Windsor in the UK, and it was very close. It's just west of London.
Okay.
And so they had their royal duties to perform as well. So they was in the army, but they could nip into London and do jobs, if you like. So they're on call all the time. And so they was there. But while they was training to be in an armoured regiment, I was back in Bovington, which is our armoured school in the UK, and I was instructing there, and both them two came through when I was on course. And again, the wife was with me when we moved there for the first day.
Yeah.
So we get there the first day, and we stay in the officers' mess overnight, which was really quite nice. And we get there in the morning and having breakfast. And we sat there, and we're getting tucked into our full English, and we're going through our bacon and eggs and all that kind of stuff. And my wife says to me, "Andy," I said, "What, love?" She said, "I understand Prince Harry's here." I said, "Yeah." Kept on eating my breakfast, digging the ribs. "Andy, what, love? Do you think we'll get to see him?" I said, "He's sat behind you." And she turned around, and he was right behind her.
Literally sitting behind.
And then she got like starstruck. So she got all did blushy and everything else, and wouldn't talk to her. She's having breakfast behind us.
Yeah.
It's just a guy.
Yeah, just a guy that you've been going through school with and training.
Yeah.
What were they better at? Like, should they have stayed in one school versus the other? Like, I'm sure they have their strong suits.
Well, so they both moved on here. So then William went and joined the Air Force, and he became a search and rescue pilot. And
search and rescue.
Yeah. So he flies search and rescue off Wales.
Okay.
Off the north coast of Wales. And he does it for genuine. You know, people get washed out to sea or whatever, and he goes out and rescues them. And he flies the helicopter. And Harry, he went from being in an armoured regiment, and then he moved and he became a helicopter pilot as well. So he moved to the Army Air Corps and he flew Apaches. So when he was in Afghanistan, he flew Apaches.
Harry flew Apaches.
Yeah. Don't ask me how.
So Harry's the more badass of the two.
So the difference between the two is one.
I mean, search and rescue, you got to be really good. I would think like pinpoint accuracy,
right? But
which means William's probably the better pilot. But yet you're letting the other one fly a damn Apache, which I know costs way more than a search and rescue helicopter.
But one's going to be the future monarch, and the other one's not.
Yeah.
So one his pathway is kind of limited, and the other one is kind of a bit of free reign.
Yeah.
And that's why Harry, if it was the other way around, he'd get reined in.
Yeah.
But they're not. William's going to be the king, and Harry's not. So therefore, Harry can almost do what he wants.
Well, Harry lives in like California now. Yeah. Like he's said piss on all this. But he can fly Apaches.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like the Top Gun version. You know. All right, that's really interesting. What you got any cool stories? Like, I mean, I know you obviously were very close quarters with the Queen. Like, I've seen pictures of you literally within like 3 feet of the Queen.
Yeah.
So
she was the Queen was the colonel of our regiment.
Yeah.
The Royal Scots Dragoon Guards and we had the very. I met the Queen quite a few times, and she's a delightful lady. I mean, she was a delightful lady.
Passed,
you know, it's a delightful lady, and she used to like a whiskey.
She was a whiskey drinker?
Oh, she was a whiskey drinker.
Oh, that's so awesome. I'm so much more a fan.
That's why she get women back to Scotland.
But
yes, so she was a whiskey drinker. So she used to spend most of her private time without any interference in Balmoral up in Scotland.
Okay.
And so she spent quite a bit of time up there.
What was her? Did she have like a preferred whiskey? Did you?
I think she did, but I don't think it was like a big name brand.
Was it like a Scotch? Or
no, it was just like a Bell's or something. It was something pretty Johnny Walker or something like that. It was something.
Okay, so this is something very basic.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And she was, as a lady, she had some very basic tasting things. Swore a lot.
Because you hear all the like weird stories about like King Charles now, like how he has to have his shoelace tied a certain way.
Did you not hear the story about the two Americans that met her?
No.
Oh, it's a classic.
No. All right.
So she's out walking. This is years ago, but she's out walking. Okay. She's out walking across Scotland, and she's got with her a bodyguard.
Okay.
And it's basically in the
just one.
Yeah, she's got one bodyguard out because it's near Balmoral.
Okay.
And so she's just out hiking, if you like.
She's just walking around the grounds.
Yeah, and there's and a couple of Americans who was on holiday happen upon them both.
Okay.
You got to see this thing because it's on YouTube. You got to see it.
Okay.
So they happen upon these Americans, and these Americans they start talking to these two people, and they're telling them that they've been on the American, and they've come over, and they've been here, there, and everywhere, and they find it real nice, and now they're out for a hike. And they understand that somewhere in the area where they're hiking, the Queen of England has got a place. And they don't recognise who she is.
They're literally talking.
Yeah, just talking to him. So they don't recognise who he is. So the two guys say to the bodyguard at the time, they said, do you know where the Queen lives? And the Queen says, she lives over that hill. She's got a little place over that hill, which was Balmoral Castle.
Yeah.
She got a little place over that hill. So they say to the bodyguard, have you ever met the Queen? And he said, yeah, I've met her a few times. And they say to the Queen, have you met the Queen? And she goes, oh no. So they keep chatting it. So in the end, they chat about all sorts of stuff. But in the end, these two Americans think this guy's brilliant because he's met the Queen.
Yeah.
So they asked this lady to take photographs of the three of them.
So them plus the bodyguard, because he knows the Queen.
So the Queen's taking the photograph of the two Americans.
She's taking the selfie, basically. They don't even want her in the picture.
And then they invited her to come in for a selfie.
Oh,
and then
wow.
they go back to America, and she got to leave after that conversation. Yeah. And she goes, I wonder what's going to happen with their friends when she showed them the photographs.
Yeah. They finally realized that they were there with the Queen.
Didn't join the dots. Didn't join the dots.
That's crazy. See, like, we have, I've never stopped and got to talk with him, but, like, George W. Bush Jr.,
yeah,
he mountain bikes a lot.
Right.
And, like, some of these mountain bikes, and when I was mountain biking a lot, like, he would be over there, and you could just, like, here he comes with this couple Secret Service guys, like, you know, they're just out riding mountain bikes, and he's just getting his daily exercise.
Just guys, aren't they?
Yeah, just
people.
Like, but it's so funny when, like, you get so much more out of people when you don't, like, actually... You actually treat them like a normal human being, because at the end of the day, like, no matter what your royal status is, what your military rank is, what your civilian status is, what your job is, like, at the end of the day, you're still just a normal.
And there's a time when especially the royal family, when they have to perform their duties.
Yeah.
But then there's also a time that a few people have seen, when they park that and they become just normal people. And that was their time in Balmoral. That's when she used to park
That's awesome.
You know?
That was her, like, safe place where she
and I think
got
that's why she went there to die. She went
there. Is that where she passed?
Yeah, she passed. She went to Balmoral to pass in Balmoral.
Oh, wow.
And then they brought her body back. They flew her body back from there.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was like... I was impressed. Like, it's a long ordeal.
Yeah.
Because my wife's cousin was here from London.
Yeah.
When that happened, and when she comes in town, she's here for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And stays, and like, she was keeping up with all of it, and I was like, I was even kind of joking about it. It was just like, man, like, are they gonna bury her ever? Like,
yeah, it was.
It's
but that's
quite
the reason why.
Process.
It took a while.
But if she had passed like there, it wouldn't have been as long, would it have? Like, the whole processes and everything.
So in London,
I don't know what the traditions are.
Yeah, so in London they've got, and the military especially, but it's more than the military, because it's a big security operation. It's a lot of the services that need to happen in the London area. They have a plan already for all of the royals.
All of the royals.
Yeah, and it goes in different levels, if you like, about even the invitation list or whatever.
Yeah.
So the Queen's plan was called Up Tower Bridge, I think, or Up London Bridge. Tower Bridge or London Bridge. I think it was London Bridge. So they pulled that operation out, and that's what she got buried as. And so the sequence of events that happened with the
she had
the
already
ceremony,
dictated that. Like, that was already
lying in waiting, all that kind of stuff there, so people could pay their respects, all that kind of shit. That's
just to be clear, what you're saying is, though, it was probably extended a little bit because she was in Belmore.
Yeah,
and they had to get her back.
Yeah, they had to get her back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
So it was a couple of extra days, and then they had to work out when she had to be back, and then that's why the funeral was on the Monday or something. I think it was on the Monday or the Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. So, what was it like? What do you think the big differences were? So, you're also Canadian military.
Yeah.
Big difference?
And
how does one do that? How can you be UK military and then
so what happened?
military?
I then do lots of other stuff in the army. I then get commissioned, and so I was a we call it a ranker. So a lance
A
corporal.
royal wanker?
No,
Or
it's like a wanker. So you go through the ranks. They call it another rank.
All right.
So you go a corporal, sergeant, master warrant officer, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So you go through all that, and then I'm about to leave the military. That's me finished. After 22 years, I'm done.
Y'all,
So me and the wife-
hold on. We're in time out here. Just for the first part in this story, he's saying after 22 years, done. No more.
So I'm going to 22 years.
We're retiring.
No, not retiring. I'm going to go do a second career
okay.
as a civvy somewhere, age 40 years old or whatever. I'm 39, 40 years old. So I'm on my way. And so I said to the wife, we're going. And she said, and what are you going to do? I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm sure I'll find something, and I'm sure we'll be successful. And no matter what, I'll make sure the kids are still fed, clothed, and everything else. She said, right, okay. So, with that, I then get a phone call from the commanding officer. And he invites me round to his house with my wife for a Sunday dinner. What are you doing now?
I'm just checking the comments. We've got people watching us and stuff, so
I popped round to the commanding officer's house with my wife for Sunday dinner. And I said to Sue, well, it can't be for a bollocking because you're with me. And she said, right, okay. So this conversation's kind of unheard of, this invite's unheard of. So we go round to his house, big house, big house. And we see the top man and we have Sunday dinner with him. And he said to me, so you're leaving the army, Anne? I said, yeah, it's 22 years, that's me finished, I'm going. He said, I'd like to offer you a commission in the regiment. He said, change your cap badge from being a mechanic, and I want you to be join the tank regiment.
yeah.
I said, right, okay. I said, I need to talk that through with the family first before I make that decision. So I go home and I speak to the kids. There was only we at the time, only little, like 8, 9 years old or whatever. And I spoke to the wife. We had this private conversation, and I said, look, it's an opportunity to stay in the army for a second career. And so take me till I'm 55, for another 15 years basically. And I'll be a commissioned officer. So I'll be a captain, and so on and so forth. So that was fine. So we had this conversation. I took up his offer, and then I got commissioned, and then stayed with the regiment, and then I moved around as first of all as a captain, and then as a major, and then luckily for me, people saw things in me that I couldn't see myself.
Moving
and the idiots promoted me to lieutenant colonel.
Yeah.
So I got to lieutenant colonel, which is the highest rank you can go to after you've been through the ranks. It's the highest rank you can go to before I retired.
That's impressive.
So it was okay.
They liked when you told them to stick the dynamite under the tanks
Oh, that was quite funny.
and get them out of the ice.
Oh, that was quite funny. That was in
promotional
Bathurst. How do you remember that?
It's one of my favorite stories. You were you literally just randomly one night were like, yeah, so me and some of my mates were in like, I don't know, Northern Europe or Russia or some shit. And you're like, yeah, we got up in the morning and our tanks were literally frozen to the ground.
It was, yeah.
And you're like, so I just told them, go stick a couple dynamite sticks under each track and we'll blow the damn things up out of the ground. And we just blew our tanks up and we were able to roll right out of there.
It's a P4.
But, I mean, like, to me, hearing this, I'm like, you have a tank filled with fuel, bombs.
It's diesel.
But bombs, you got, like, cannon, like, missiles that shoot out of the damn tank, right?
Yeah.
And you just decide, like, hey, we can probably get it out of the ice and not blow the whole damn thing up.
It was a little bit. You didn't have to do the whole thing.
Just a tad bit of dynamite under it. And we'll just make it hover off the ground, and then we'll just roll on about our way.
It was a bit of P4, that was all it was. A bit of plastic explosive.
That was like some SES stuff that you just like said, like, oh yeah, this is no big deal. We do this all the time.
You just kind of adapt and overcome, don't you? Just move on. Complete the mission, mate. That's what you got to do.
See, I love that shit. That cracks me up.
I can't believe you remember that shit.
I mean, you'd be amazed at what I actually do remember. I mean, my wife's like, "Oh, you don't remember shit," or "Oh, you didn't hear this," and I'm like, "No, you didn't tell me." Like,
okay.
Yeah, we have that one, but maybe I didn't hear it. I don't know, but I remember a lot of that stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. But plus, it's a funny story. I mean, who hears about somebody sticking a stick of dynamite? I mean, under a tank.
Yeah.
I heard bullshit. I mean, not bullshit, but I heard stories of my dad and my mom's dad, my grandfather, would go out fishing at like private properties or lakes out in Oklahoma when I was a little kid, and my grandfather worked out on the oil rigs, and they'd grab a couple extra sticks of dynamite and in the pond, and fishing was a little easier back then. I heard stuff like that, so that's one of those that just kind of like you don't forget completely. Yeah.
So what else do you want to know?
Man, I'm down to talk about whatever you want to talk about. What? Let's see. I know. I'm hoping some of I know Andy. I know Andy Squire's guys are really excited about jumping on here. Zach Squire's probably going to hop on here somewhere. I don't know if they're going to get on here live or we'll see him later on. Just catching the show later. That's one of the hard things to tell why we're just doing this, especially in this setup. Normally, when you actually come visit, which I'm telling my wife, I'm going to say it on Facebook now too. We have to go visit Andy and his wife and go hang out in Windsor next year, so we're going to make this happen, and in return they're going to come hang out in Dallas at some point.
That would be brilliant.
They're going to come down to Texas. I'm telling him he has to come down there in football season or something though, or hockey. You can pick, because that way we can go to a hockey or football game, or maybe both, depending on what time of year you come down.
My wife loves sport.
Yeah, we'll do it big.
She's a sports fiend.
Yeah, we'll have a good time. You guys come. We'll do the Texas experience. Do all that. Let's see. What are these? If any of y'all are on here and y'all want to ask a question, feel free to jump on and ask a question. I am watching this as a little bit as I can, because when I'm in Texas, I have a producer, my man Biz, who better be watching. Biz, you better be on here. I better see that you were on here later. Biz runs my show. So, this is super easy. We walk in, we light up a cigar, we pour some drinks, and we just go. Everything else, Biz is responsible for. I had to do all this tonight and test this and make sure this works. But normally I have Biz running all this, and Biz keeps us on track, keeps us on point. He's really the brains behind all of it. So I get Biz running stuff. So we would do it that way. But, all right, let's go.
I could tell you about my first experience with the American Army.
The first experience. All right, if you're bringing this up, I definitely want to hear this.
So I kind of worked with the Americans in Germany a few times. So in Germany after the war, I don't know if you know what happened after the war, but they carved Germany up.
Yeah.
So in Germany, it was carved up into 4 slots.
That's right. You had the wall.
No, So they had the Berlin Wall, but Germany itself was carved up.
Okay.
And it was kind of worked out on the percentage of losses after World War II.
Okay.
And so East Germany, that became controlled by the Russians, and West Germany, as it was known back then, it was carved up into 3 segments. There was the Brits at the northern bit, Hamburg, Hanover, Dortmund, all around the industrial area, the industrial north. And the Americans got the south.
Okay.
So all the time we used to go and exercise together. So we used to go and exercise together, but didn't exercise with each other. The Brits used to do their thing.
You're running separate missions. You're out there together, but you're not doing something together.
So everything was to block the Russians coming over, the Warsaw Pact as it was back then.
Is this why you're unretired now? We're in Russians. Russians where they need to be.
That's a different. We'll move on to that in a bit. Right. But anyway, so it's the Russians coming over from east to west and coming through. And the battleground for Europe, for NATO, was going to be Germany again. Okay. And so we had this. It was a numbers game. And the Brits had the north, 100,000 soldiers in the north, and the Americans probably had about 200,000, but they was in the south. They had the pretty south. They had Bavaria, the mountains, all that kind of stuff.
He just called us pretty.
Yeah, and we had the coal mines and all the rest of the industrial stuff up the north. Okay. Steel works and everything else. So that's how it was carved up. And then the Dutch and the French kind of took a little bit near their territory. That's how they kind of looked after it. Berlin was the same.
Say they were playing a part.
Yeah, and Berlin was the same. So Berlin got carved up.
Okay.
So that's where the Berlin Wall comes in. So East Berlin was controlled by the Russians, and West Berlin was controlled by predominantly the Brits and the Americans.
See, I didn't realize the Russians played so much.
Oh,
of
massive,
this,
because they had such a big loss. But the different view after World War II, the very different view, because there was, I'll go back one.
Okay.
World War One finishes, and the countries that was involved in World War One was decimated, financially, economically, all the rest of the stuff, industry and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So France, so they left Germany impoverished to do its own thing, and that piece of being impoverished, that's what led to them coming together to support Hitler to start World War II.
Right.
So they didn't want to do the same mistake again. So after World War II, they decided to help rebuild Germany straight away.
Okay.
So Germany was built in double quick time compared to France and the UK that took a real good pasting. So, but they realised that unless they invested in Germany, and there would be another World War, there'd be World War III basically. So that's kind of what happened. So
so Germany was like the turning point.
Germany for sure. And anybody who came over to Germany from the UK said, "Who won the war?" Because their place was all built up and modernised and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And UK and France and everything else was still suffering as a result. So it was a bit of a strange place to be, actually. Living in
because like they put all the money and everything back in to revitalizing Germany, who was their enemy.
Yes, and it was a bit strange.
And then they built it up to this like metropolis.
Yes,
right. And then everything else was still bomb-ridden, torn up. So they were like the golden child.
So it's a bit odd, but like I said, now it's old Europe and everything's fine and dandy. But anyway, so that was my first experiences was kind of working with the Americans, if you like. So the Americans in the south, we was in the north, facing off against the Warsaw Pact. So that's what we was doing. Mm-hmm. And it was a numbers game. So if you wanted to go Christmas time, for example, if you wanted to go and leave, they'd only allow so many soldiers to leave Germany in case the Russians was going to attack. We had to have 80% of the 300,000 soldiers had to stay in Germany. Okay. So they was in the south, we was in the north, and then later on, what happened was when when I was a commissioned officer, I then went over to Afghanistan, but I was part of the United States Marine Corps out of Lejeune, which is not far from here, and so we went over into Helmand Province, and I was on the staff of the headquarters, and I was the chief planner in a United States Marine Corps headquarters for a year.
For Afghanistan.
Yeah, and that was quite interesting, living in Helmand with Americans for the first time and trying to understand even the psyche, the logic, of
what they were trying to do.
Well, what they were trying to do, but also the fun and the differences between us, the language differences. We spoke a similar language, but very, very different.
I learned last night, fanny does not mean the same thing in the UK. So
it means you're downstairs for a lady.
Yeah. So Andy's wife really, when she first heard fanny pack,
she
which we think fanny, rear,
and front end,
and it's the front end in the UK. So I've been having a little fun with this. Miguel, I hope you're on here at some point. Miguel is my good friend. Him and his wife Lauren. Liam is her brother that has just recently come over, is hanging out in Texas with us. But yeah, they're from the UK, and I love Miguel's. He gets mad at me because I call him Miggy, and apparently his dad is the only person that calls him Miggy, and that was just really natural for me. Like Miguel, Miggy, I don't know. But anyways, I'm going off topic here. One of our really good followers here, Larry Adams, has a question for you. He wants to know if you enjoy a good cigar.
If I enjoy?
If you enjoy a good cigar.
So, I've kind of gone away from them, but it was because we used to smoke them in the mess.
Okay.
So, on a special dinner, we used to sit there on a regimental dinner night,
Yeah.
And we'd have their all in formal dress and everything else.
Yeah.
And there was a few rituals we used to do, and I always enjoyed a cigar at the time. But then when the smoking ban came in, like 15 years ago, whatever, you can't smoke in messes anymore. It all kind of died a death, and so that kind of tradition
He's replaced it with bottle chugging. Let me tell you, he really likes the tequila that I had.
Yeah, that tequila was really nice.
Yeah.
And then what they also, so in order to get around it, and I didn't really participate in this.
Okay.
This is going to kind of surprise you.
Oh, I can't wait.
We have, in the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards officers' mess, a ram's head.
Ram's head.
Yeah. A ram's head with horns and everything else on it.
Yeah.
And
y'all like blowing the horns.
And they've taken the bits out of it. You know, it's no longer all that's been kind of scooped out.
Y'all use the horns.
I'll show you. And it's called. No, you don't use the horns, man.
I can see y'all using the horns, drinking out of them or something.
We don't. So we have this ram's head with the old horns on it. Okay.
All right.
And its name is called George.
It's George.
George. And when we stopped smoking the cigars, the guys had to move on to something different. And so they moved on to snuff.
Snuff.
You know what snuff is?
Yeah, snuff's different portions of the world.
No,
because there's like snuff can be like a fine chew that you use.
No, so snuff in UK is a bit like a pepper.
Okay.
And you put it on the side of your hand and you up the nose. It's almost like snorting coke.
Okay.
And so, but it's legal.
Okay.
And so the snuff box was in George's head. And so we used to pass George around and then put the snuff on, and it wasn't really for me.
All right, but you did. So formerly, to answer the question, you did enjoy a cigar.
We enjoyed a cigar.
Proper mess hall.
The officers' mess was really
officers' mess.
Proper pomp and ceremony.
Celebrating something big. So he also asked if you have ever smoked a cigar with a famous person. Like, did you sit with Harry or William and smoke a stogie after you taught him how to blow a patchy?
I've smoked cigars with royalty, but not with Harry and William.
Okay.
So, I think I've smoked cigars with from the royal family. Prince Philip, who was the Queen's husband.
Mm-hmm.
Prince Michael of Kent, I've smoked with him. And who else? Where did I get my medal?
I told you, y'all thought I was bullshitting, and I just told you, like, he's royal family smoking cigars.
Princess Anne. We had a mess dinner for Princess Anne. And there's a couple of others, but
okay.
Yeah.
Can you get me, like, one of the Kingsman's ashtrays?
A Kingsman ashtray?
Yeah, I want a Kingsman.
What does it turn into?
I don't know. I don't care what it turns into. I mean, it can just be an ashtray. I can just say this is from the SAS or the Kingsman's ashtray. I feel like I could take that back to the lounge. The guys would fucking fall over. That'd be like top notch. Yes, Larry, I agree. He needs to visit ICC and smoke an Atabey for sure, or an Alfonso. I brought some really good cigars. Maybe I can get him into the officers' mess hall and he'll smoke one with me one of these nights since he drank all my tequila last night. Maybe, we'll see. But if not, when he does come down to Texas, he will for sure be coming up to ICC with me, and we will be hanging out up there. And a lot of you will get to meet him up there. This is like, I've told y'all, like, this has been one of the podcasts I've been waiting for. This is one of my favorite people I've met from doing this trip. And we have an absolute great time. If any of y'all end up getting to where you can come on this trip, you know, it's a lot of father-sons, which I think is amazing. You know,
great stuff.
My father passed when I was 24, so I really enjoy seeing a lot of these father-sons get to bond, play golf together. Some of these guys have been doing this for 25, 30 years. Yeah. I mean, it's just a great group of guys. I mean, what do we have, like 70 people from Canada here?
68 altogether.
68, and then we have another like 8 from Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 8 of us from Dallas, 68 from Canada. And it's just a great group of guys. Like, we haven't got to do this in 3 years, so we're all kind of like really living it up and trying to get back and enjoy this right now. But yeah, I told y'all. So any of y'all want to ask questions, hop on here, get after it. I know Andy's son Zach was supposed to be on here, and a bunch of his guys, because y'all wanted to grill him. Here's your chance. You guys got about, I'm going to give you 30 to 45 more minutes before we're going to cut this short, if he feels like talking for that long, which we usually don't have much problem talking, especially when we got alcohol in front of us. But y'all want to ask questions, y'all want to like get into anything specific, we're happy to go down those avenues with you guys. So I don't know I feel like what is a great lesson you learned from either any of your military experiences, either Canadian or UK, doesn't matter, special forces, not, whatever. What are some things that really stand out to you that were lessons you learned that you also felt like you applied in your normal life, civilian life, that stand out the most to you?
So I think for me, I've always been a planner.
Planning.
But I also appreciate that most plans go to ratchet pretty quickly.
Uh-huh.
But unless you've got a plan in the start, you kind of don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you got to have a backup plan.
You've got to have a plan to kind of know where you're going, whether that's in civilian life, military life. For me,
Yeah.
always been a planner, planning to do something, and then that transfers into civilian life. So a friend of mine years ago, I've got a couple of great photographs I need to show you at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Of me trying to do some planning in the desert in Kuwait with two mobile phones and a laptop and fucking everything else.
You know what? I feel like I can kind of relate to this because it's got to be about 5 years ago now. I got to go to Jordan. You know, my wife is half Jordanian.
Yeah.
My father-in-law is Jordanian. So I got the pleasure of going to Jordan. And I've been to a few places in Europe, and I've gotten to go to Jordan. That is an experience. When you see like,
it's different, eh? It's very different.
But I mean, like, not only is it desert and you're getting to see this stuff, but like the Romans and stuff, like, and the Greeks, like, I mean, like, seeing influence them in the middle of the desert in the Middle East. Like, some people, I mean, you ask them to point out Jordan on a globe, like, spin the globe and tell me where Jordan is. I guarantee you 80% of these kids can't do that today. They don't even know where Jordan is. They're like, what, Michael Jordan?
Yeah, I think he's a basketball player.
Like Michael Jordan? Oh, they can't even tell you where he's from, and it's North Carolina, you know? Like, can't even do that. But, you know, seeing some of this stuff, like, handmade, and, like, when we went to, like, Aqaba, and, you know, we got to see all these just amazing things, and, like, these guys hand-carved in mountains, and, like, it's 3-4 stories high. Like,
how did they do it?
How did you do that? Like, and I mean, I'm a big fan of Egypt. I wouldn't go there. I would love to at some point, but I feel like nowadays you can see it on TV.
We had some American tourists came to York.
It's crazy.
They come to York and they're going down a place called the Shambles in York.
Yeah.
It's just a delightful old part of York that was built in about 900, something like that.
I think Sarah's cousins live real close to York.
You know, and it looks a bit like from Harry Potter kind of. Yeah. And this American is taking a tour.
Y'all remind me, we're going to bring that back up. He is a Harry Potter fan, and we're going to bring this up.
This guy on this tour says to the tour guide, she says, how do you make these places look so old? And she says to him, sir, because they are very old.
Yeah.
And they are. These buildings,
like, old.
Yeah, they're just fucking old.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the way it is.
It amazed me walking around Europe when I went to their, like, where was it? Vienna, Austria.
Then you go through
Vienna. That was, like, the cleanest city I've ever seen in my life. Like, you have the opera, you have all this stuff, like, but walking around, saying my wife and I, she got us lost. Actually, I did. I'll admit that because I don't think she's on here. But anyways, walking around the city and stuff, there's not a piece of chewing gum on the ground. There's not a cigarette butt. There's no graffiti. And I mean, we got lost. Like, we kept wondering when it started raining and sprinkling off and on. Like, we got completely outside of the inner city. We got more in the ghetto and kind of, like, got ourselves out and lost and had to, like, take a taxi to get back. And, like, finally found one, waved the guy down, and was like, I don't know if we're going to get murdered or if we're going to get a ride back into town.
Not in Vienna.
Like, we just kept going. But we didn't know. Like,
Yeah.
But you could tell, even in a city like that, most pristine city I've ever been in my life. Like, I kid you not. Like, I don't know who goes around and picks up stuff, but, like, no cigarette butts, no gum, nothing. Like, the city is pristine clean. It was amazing. All right, but we deflected here from me asking you about what are the most memorable experiences that you can think of, lessons you learned in the military.
So go back to the planning piece.
Planning.
So a friend of mine who, before we went to, where did I go this time? Let me think. I'm now serving at a brigade headquarters as a staff officer.
Yeah.
And I've got this, I'm a captain, and I've got this major above me.
Okay.
A guy called Jim Landon, who I now work with.
Jim Landon.
I now work with him.
All right.
Okay. So he becomes my boss.
Okay.
And we're in Catterick in UK. And this guy was an avid planner. And he taught me a few very, very simple lessons.
Okay.
And he'd say to me, so I'd talk to him and I'd say, we need to plan, we need to do whatever it was. Say we're going to Sierra Leone.
Okay.
And we're going to kick some ass in Sierra Leone, which is what we did. And he said, right, and he sat down, and the very first thing he got out was a pencil. And he drew a line with a pencil. I looked at him, and I said, the fuck are you doing? Drawing a line with a pencil? We're supposed to be getting into this planning stuff, we're supposed to be. All this, and he just drew a line with a pencil, like that. He does it every time. Every time I talk to him. He's never changed. And I go to him, Jim, what are you doing? He said, and what's today's date? And I go, 18th of October. And he goes, 18th of October. And he goes, when do we need to be in Sierra Leone? I said, by the 24th of December. Puts a line in. And he starts to create a timeline to start to plan. And by putting them simple dates in, that simple line, that simple piece, and then things start to fall into place. So what do we need to do? We need to book flights.
Break it down to the simplest
we need to,
thing.
and he just puts it from a simple line, and he develops it from that every time. And I learned so much from that, because up until that point, trying to gather your thoughts, but time is the biggest.
Y'all got a whole mission that needs to be executed.
But
you're just starting back.
So
like
all you need to understand when you're doing the mission is what the intent is. What do you want to achieve at the end? So for example, I've done things before, and there's certain things that you can't change. Coming here, for example, you spoke to me earlier on about me coming over for my wedding anniversary every year.
Yeah.
That's set in stone.
Yeah. That date never changes.
Christmas Day is set in stone.
Yeah.
There's certain things that are just set in stone. You know, the various days, holidays, whatever.
But you can celebrate them when you choose.
So you draw the line,
Yeah.
you draw down the things that can't be changed, and then you plan it accordingly. And then you can work out what's going to happen. And that's what this guy taught me. He also taught me a very good thing about simple planning. And the simple planning was, what's the aim? What are the factors affecting the aim? What are the courses open? So the different ways you can do it. And what's the plan? So for example, we're going to go and play golf tomorrow.
Yeah.
Simple thing. We're going to go play golf. The aim is to go and play golf at Tiger's fucking Stripe or whatever they call it. So that's the aim tomorrow.
All right. The aim's to go play.
That's the aim. The factors affecting the aim. We've got a time. We've got roads we can go down. There might be road works. We've got weather. We've got da. Course is open. We can go on the 17. We can go on this da. What's the plan? We're in on the 17. We're leaving at 8 o'clock. Da. That's the plan. And if it goes to fucking rat shit, at least you know kind of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that guy taught me them 4 basic tenets of simple planning, and it's done me well both in military terms as well as in my civilian life.
Yeah.
You know, so the wife says, you know, I need to go to hospital. Okay, you need to go to hospital. That's what you need to do. That's the aim. Factors affecting the aim. We need to get there by a certain time. We need to lead that, and then off you go.
Okay.
So I've always used that.
What's
Simple
the
and
greatest?
boring,
What's the greatest thing you've learned, or something you thought you understood, but travel changed your opinion of it?
Travel changed. So
Because like you, I mean, you've
So
traveled the world.
I've travelled the world. I've been all over. So just to give you a flavour of where I've travelled, the only place I've not really travelled to is
Antarctica.
where,
You've probably been there too.
Yeah, I've not been down to South America.
South America.
I've not been down that way. That's the only place I've not travelled. I've been to New Zealand. I've been to Australia. I've been to the Middle East. I've been to the Far East. I've been to Mongolia. I've been to where else have I been?
He hasn't been to Texas, y'all.
I've not been to Texas. I think that's not the back end of the world, is it? I've been to the Arctic. I just returned from the Arctic. I was there 2 or 3 months ago. I was up in.
Yeah, this fucker's like riding helicopters chasing polar bears.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was about.
Just something common people do in Canada, you know.
That was
These
in,
UK guys, they just, you know, chase polar bears and shit. You know?
that was the end of, so that was up doing the North Warning System, or I don't know if you know what the North Warning System is, but it protects the north of America with a set of radars for early warning of missiles coming over the top of the Arctic. So Russia controls most of the Arctic, and then the Europeans through Finland and Norway have got a bit in the Arctic Circle, but predominantly it's run by Russia. And then the Americans have got Alaska, obviously, and then we've got Canada, and so they're looking after that bit about stuff coming over the top. So I'm working with a project at the moment, and that's why I got called in. I get called in.
This is the unretired.
Yeah, the unretired kind of work. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's interesting stuff.
So you got to hang out with Elon Musk, or what? What are you doing?
Do you know, I had supper with a guy the other day that brought his name up because he phones him almost daily. Some guy in the motor industry.
What?
And they've got a fucking weird. Oh, that's my yellow card, isn't it?
You got a yellow card. It took us like over an hour in, but he's got a yellow card.
But so I'm sat having supper with this guy.
But you can go ahead and say fag because he probably wants a cigarette.
We're at this big dinner. And this guy says to me, yeah, I spoke to Elon the other day, and I said to him, you phoned Elon Musk? He said, yeah. And I said, well, actually, I think he's a bit of a prick, to be quite honest with you. I really do. I just think he's a bit of a prick. I think he's a really lucky entrepreneur that's kind of worked out. He's the guy that's walked by the roulette table and put all the money on one number, and it's turned up. Because I don't think he's a bright at all. I just think he's just lucky. And every time he says things, what?
Why do you just think Elon Musk is lucky and you don't think he's actually that bright?
I don't think he's that bright because of some of the tweets he says, and some of the things that he actually does. I don't think he's very, very clever at all. I think he's an impulsive guy that's got this massive influence behind him. It's a bit like Apple.
Okay.
You know, so the guy from Apple comes up and Steve Jobs comes up and he says something, and all these people in the crowd kind of go with it, and it might not be the right thing. You know, and I think Musk's the same. I think he's just that. I just think he's a very
it's his own thing. It's
entrepreneur.
Cutting edge entrepreneur.
And he just
puts out amazing things.
Well, the biggest dick thing he's just done. They did it a few months ago. Was saying he was going to buy Twitter, and then he tried to backpedal from it, and now he's had to jump into it because for billions of dollars.
I mean, at least he didn't make a spaceship that looks like a dildo.
No, that fucking that shocked me. when you made that, everybody in the world must have gone there, gone, why are you sending the dildos to space? Yeah. In fact, there's a movie being made years ago. You have to go back to this. Mm-hmm. You have to watch a movie. Your friends need to watch a movie.
Okay.
Called.
Yeah.
Ready for this? Ready for this? Flesh Gordon.
Flash Gordon.
Not Flash Gordon.
Flesh
Gordon.
Gordon.
And he goes into space.
I feel like if I Googled this, this would be so
Flesh
bad.
Gordon goes into space on a dildo.
Oh, this is like Ace and Geary. Like, yeah.
Flesh Gordon on a dildo.
The ambiguously gay dude.
He's
duo.
just like Mr. Amazon, Mr. Bezos going to space in a dildo. It's exactly the same, my friend.
I mean, like, what was he thinking?
I don't know.
I mean, like, he has like gazillion dollars.
Yes. And he builds
he's building a spaceship.
And he builds an anal intruder.
Yeah. What was the word last night? Like, oh man, it kept getting used. These guys were talking about how in like school they got strapped.
Sure.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, and they were saying vague things and they kept talking about getting strapped. And I'm like,
was it Brits?
Yeah, no, they were Canadians.
Oh.
And I'm like, you're going to have to explain this to me because, like, I'm taking a different meaning from the story you're telling. But,
So,
like, same thing. It was like I was talking about fanny. You know, like, there's just different.
So what strap? What
they're talking about strapped, like they got bent over and spanked.
Spanked. Okay, strapped. Yeah, okay.
Spanked. But yeah, I'm not even going to say on here the other thing that came up, and it would be too bad.
We've got lots of things we use strapped for.
Yeah,
it's not just about spanking.
Strapped could be like with strapped with a gun, strapped with a belt.
Belts.
Like
it's strapped.
Yeah,
but also strapped in UK also means if you're tight, if you've got no money left, you're strapped for cash.
Yeah, you're strapped for cash.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. That's not too far off.
Yeah.
All right. What other groundbreaking things do you want to draw? So you're all right. So we said we were going to talk about retirement, which is unretirement. So just how do you get called back in to be unretired when you're retired?
What happened about me being retired? I was in the Canadian Armed Forces, you know.
Right.
So the reason I got back is, let's go back one. Canadian Armed Forces. I finished the British Army.
Yeah.
I then come over to
Canada.
And I need to go back one again. So the reason I come to Canada, both me and my wife get an assignment, a posting to Alberta.
Wait, is your wife some like secret agent too?
No, but do you know my kids thought I was a spy.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to think maybe your wife is.
So my kids thought
I think Sue might be like he's spilling all these beans. Sue might be the real like secret assassin.
My kids thought I was a spy when they came home from school one day and they went into a drawer.
Yeah.
And they look inside this drawer, and inside there I've got more than one passport. I've got 2 or 3 passports, and I've got money from countries around the world. A significant amount of money. Yeah. And then my daughter said to me one day.
And then what, a 9mm in there?
No, I didn't have a 9mm. I said, are you a spy, Dad? And I said, no, I'm not a spy. Why did you ask the question? They said, we was looking for something in the drawer, and we found multiple passports and all this money from different countries, and we've been watching movies, and that's kind of what spies do. And I said, no, love, we just have to travel through a lot of countries, but I had to have multiple passports in the army that kind of blocked out countries I'd visited. That's what it was, so I could travel to different countries. So when I went to Sierra Leone, I didn't
save time because
you can't
passport. Say I've been to Sierra Leone if you're going to XYZ.
When I went to Mongolia, I had to have a different passport. When I went to China, I had to have a different passport. Thailand, there was certain countries that you
didn't want that stamp.
Yeah, you don't want the stamp to say you've been in Afghanistan or you've been in Iraq or you've been in whatever. You didn't want a stamp in there.
Yeah.
So I had multiple passports.
You want to laugh at me? You want a good laugh about me?
Go on then.
So, me, Whitey, not going to Jordan, never been to Jordan. I had some stipulations, right? I said, if I'm going to go to Jordan, these 3 things, 2 of these 3 things have to happen. There's my father-in-law, Suhail. We'll call him Sam. Then there is my wife's cousin, Riyadh. And then there's my wife's uncle, Mike. Mike, Sam, and Riyadh. Right? I said, 2 of those 3 have to be with us, and I'll go. Because that gave me a level of comfort, right?
Yeah.
As long as 2 of them are there, we're good, right? So I get that finally. It's going to be her dad and her dad's older brother, Mike, who is like the matriarch, or like the hierarch of the family, right?
You keep talking while I get some ice.
Yeah, you're good. So we go to Jordan, and this at the time is definitely the longest flight I have ever been on in my life.
So you've not been to New Zealand then?
No. My wife and I both really want to do New Zealand. That is that's bucket list for us. I want to do New Zealand and Australia. But so longest flight I've ever had, right? And I'm thinking comfort, right? So what do I do? So I gotta back up. So my beard is probably about here. It's not quite as long as it is right now. It's probably about here. I decide, because my barber's gone, I'm going to trim it up myself, because I'm tired of listening to my wife nag at me and tell me like I need to trim my beard. She likes it when it's shorter, right? I mess it up. The clip guard comes off.
Oh.
So I have the beard here. I shave all this off. So I have chin strap beard. And this happens about a week before we go. So I go to work. All the guys at work are ribbing me hardcore. They're like, "What are you, Amish, Mormon? Like, what are you doing? Like, nice chin strap, bro."
Let me tell you.
I mean, they're giving it to me.
Garrett, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Fucking good job I wasn't there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because you'd have got the fist and everything.
Oh yeah. I mean, they gave it to me. Trust me. Like,
oh yeah.
They picked up the slack because you weren't there. So then it comes time to go, right? And I'm thinking comfort, whatnot. I get out my Columbia, like, fishing cargo pants, right? Like, cargo pants. Khaki colored. I've got my, like, boots, like, my, like, hiking boots, but, like, they're Eddie Bauer. They're super comfortable. They're black. Mid lace up to about right here.
Yeah.
Put those on. Got my Columbia pants on. Grab a t-shirt. Favorite t-shirt. Wear, like, Texas Rangers ball game shirt. Throw on a cap. I'm ready to go. We fly to, I think, London. Get to London. Have layover. Fly into Oman. We've gotten, went and got 2 bottles of Johnny Walker Blue Label for her uncle because that's what he likes.
Blue Label?
Yeah, we got the good stuff, taking that in, taking it to him. And, man, walking through the airport, I get bum rushed. So, like, my father-in-law, my wife are going through. All of a sudden, I get bum rushed by, like, 2 Army military dudes from Jordan giving me the business. I mean, they're screaming at me in Arabic. I have no idea what they're saying. My wife and my father-in-law just walking on like it's no big deal. I'm like yelling at them. Finally come over, my father-in-law comes back. 3rd guy comes over. I mean, they're asking me, what branch of military are you in? What's your rank? What's your position? What are you doing? Why are
Special
you here?
Forces stuff.
Yeah, man, because I look like Chris Kyle, American Sniper, because I've got Texas Ranger t-shirt on, ball cap on, cargo pants. Yeah. I got a chin strap beard. Only people that have them are special forces and freaking terrorists.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about any of this. I was going for comfort, and I'm laid back, chill. I mean, y'all know me. I'm t-shirt and jeans dude with a ball cap.
That's what most of the
That's me. But that's special forces too. And with the beard, and especially since I messed it up and had like just had the chin strap, man, I had that beard. At the time, that was the longest I had grown a beard, which is why when I messed it up, I wouldn't just shave it all. I was like, I'll let this catch back up, and I wouldn't just shave it all. Yeah, that next morning, I mean, I came out, baby face, man, clean shaved. Everybody looked at me and they're like, What's wrong with you? I was like, we're here for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I am not doing this. Like, this is done.
See,
the beard will grow back.
The thing is, I watch so many movies. And
but I was so nervous afterwards.
The stereotype you, that's what it is.
Oh, yeah, I got stereotyped. I got profiled.
Yeah.
I got profiled and everything.
The stereotype, the look.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, like, and I didn't even realize, like, I was so naive that, like, I didn't even think about what I was presenting myself as. Because I was just like, oh, I'm in my comfort zone. I have all this, like, planned out. This is what we're doing. Like, we're good. Yeah, no. I shaved that shit that next morning and walked out, and they were like, I was like, yeah, the beard will grow back.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this for 2 weeks. I mean, I dropped one of those bottles. It broke. I had to go buy another one because I was so nervous and just antsy. Like, after that, like, it was bad. I mean, the two dudes, even when the third guy came over and my father-in-law was talking to him and they told him to leave me alone, they really didn't want to leave me alone. Like, it was not good. And then we went to her uncle's place, and one of the king's palaces is, like, right behind there. My dumbass is up on top of the building in the morning drinking coffee and looking around, enjoying the skyline. Forget that it's the king's palace behind us. I'm up on the top taking pictures all around. I mean, here's Whitey up here taking pictures because I think the skyline is beautiful and stuff. Like, I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, I should not be allowed to do certain things because, like, I don't think about those things, but probably should. Yeah. Probably should.
So I want to tell you something.
All right. What's up?
You asked me a serious question earlier on.
All right.
And I don't mean to. I'm not going to finish on a low.
Okay. But I've got something you have to finish on, so you don't get to finish on this.
It's not. I'm not going to finish on a low, but I'm going to tell you this is quite a low.
Okay.
One of the downsides of all the exciting stuff that happens when you're in the military, all the opportunity to travel, to go to all these different countries,
things you miss with your family,
is the family piece.
Yeah. And
so I remember I came over to Canada on exercise for, I was in Canada for about 2 months. And I flew back to Germany, and my plane was delayed.
And that's where the family is, right?
Yeah,
Family's in Germany.
The family was in Germany, and I flew back to Germany, but the plane was delayed. The kids wanted to wait up, because when I went away, I was like Sinbad the Sailor. Yeah. I always brought back like 1 million presents.
You brought back the booty.
I brought back all sorts of stuff. Yeah. You know? And especially when it was different. If I came to Canada, I brought back baseball shirts and hockey shirts and things we'd never seen in Europe before. So I did all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I come over to Canada. The kids are like 5 and 3. Okay. Something like that. And I then fly back in, and it gets delayed, and the kids couldn't stay awake. They went to bed and went to sleep. And so my wife came to pick me up, took me home, and she said, I promised the girls that when you got home, you would say hello. And I said, right. So I opened the bedroom door, I walked into the bedroom, and I saw the both girls, and I gave them both a shake, and they both woke up, and they were so surprised to see me. Yeah. And I said, girls, I know you're tired. I'll give you your presents in the morning, and everything will be okay. So, no problem, Dad. Thank you very much. Love you, Dad. La, la. I went to close the bedroom door, and then one of them, the youngest one, Sam, she sat bolt upright in the bed. And she goes, Dad. I said, what's the matter, love? She goes, when I wake up in the morning, will you still be here? I said, yes, love, I will. But 3 days later, I was gone. But that tore at my heartstrings, because she came and she goes, will you be here when I wake up in the morning? You and my wife would have great stories about this. That was a tough one. Or even my father-in-law. Like, my father-in-law and you would have great stories like that. Cause alright, I'm not going to say all this. Like, we'll just say that, like, my father-in-law used to travel a lot until my wife was probably about, we'll say 5. Yeah. And he traveled a lot, and business took him away, and, like, my wife and her sister are, like, only, like, 18 months apart. Real close.
So my mother-in-law was home raising them. He traveled all the time, and it's the same thing. You know, he'd come home, bring them all the gifts, stuff, whatnot. And then he had to be gone for an extended period of time. And when he came home, the girls didn't really like they didn't want to go. They didn't run to dad. You know, he'd been gone so long that they didn't run to him. They just you know, they were closer to mom at that point.
So that was,
and that's what changed him. That's what got him to what he does now, and why he left all that, and he owns the businesses he owns.
So that was
because he wanted to get away from that.
So that was my low story.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell you a high story.
All right, let's go high
ready
story.
For this?
Yep.
Ready?
And I'm going to drop one of the big ones on you for the end of this.
I now come over to Canada.
All right.
And I'm going to take back. And we're now going to take. I'm now going to take back the present for the wife.
Oh no! You went lingerie too. Why do I? I just know you. I don't know why.
It was a segue.
I don't know why.
You missed that segue.
Oh my god!
So I'm now going to get. So I've been over to Canada a few times.
This is this weird lingerie story. Oh, I can't wait! I'm so excited.
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
So I've been over to Canada a few times, and I brought back things that we didn't really have in Europe or UK. And so now the time I come over, and I'm thinking to myself,
Mom, hold on. Mom, I feel like you should unfollow, not be listening to this right now. My mom's on here.
Yeah, she'll like this.
Oh man, this is so bad. All right, let's do it.
I've been and bought the wife lots and lots of different presents.
Yeah.
And so I'm now scratching my head. And so it comes to the end of the exercise, and I've been away for a few weeks, and I don't know what to buy the wife. So I pop up to a department store,
okay,
Sears or whatever, and
you did not buy your wife.
And I'm on the lingerie department.
You went to like at least Victoria's Secret or something, right? Like not Sears. Like you bought
lingerie. I can't remember what it was, but I'm in this lingerie department, and there's mannequins with this lingerie and stuff on. I'm thinking, I've been away for a few weeks.
I'm gonna improve my odds.
And I'm hornier than a moose.
Yeah, I'm gonna improve my odds here.
So when I get back,
the gift that keeps giving.
When I get back, she's gonna get the good news. But she's going to be suitably attired. So I look at this lingerie on these mannequins, and I say to this lady, she says to me, she said, "Sir, can I help you?" I said, "You certainly can." I said, "I think my wife would look rather nice in that thing there." It was like
right there.
It was like a body steady suspender belt thing going on.
Oh,
I know it was going. It was twitching. Anyway, so I said, my wife would look rather nice in that thing, a teddy or whatever they call it. She said, "Certainly, sir." She said, "And what size might your wife be?" And I said, "Look, I know you've got different sizes in the UK and Canada, so I'm not really sure." She said, "Well, can you point somebody out in the store that's the same size as your wife?" So I look around, and I picked this lady that was about the same size, but my finger must have been bent. I thought I was pointing that way, and I was pointing that way. And this rather powerfully built lady that was
powerfully built.
She must have been larger than the lady I pointed at. So anyway, she says, "Certainly, sir, I'll get that for you." She gets this thing. She wraps it up. She goes, "Is that a gift?" I said, "Yes, it's a gift for me. Just wrap the thing up." So I take it home. So I give the kids their present.
This is gonna go so epically bad. I love it.
Yeah. So I give the kids. So I get back home from Canada.
Yeah.
I give the kids their presents, fucking whatever they are.
Yeah. Go stay in your room for an hour.
So I said to Sue, "I've got a special present for you in the bottom of my rucksack." She said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Why don't you go in the rucksack that's in the bedroom while I'm in the main room, in the living room, and I'll be waiting for you. She says, okay. So she goes to the bedroom, to the rucksack. I've put fucking the Walrus of Love on. I've got Big Barry on. Oh. I've got the music playing. Hey. I've got the fucking, I've turned the lights down low.
You've got the Marvin Gaye.
I'm laying there, fucking zip lob, waiting for the honey to come in with this fucking teddy and suspender belt and everything else on. Anyway, the lady that I pointed to
was about 200 pounds.
Was about 200 pounds. So she puts this fucking piece of lingerie on. As she comes to the door, she leans on the door, and the gusset is fucking swinging by her knees. Everything's fucking saggy on her, and she goes,
"This is what you envision."
She goes, "Sexy is it?" I went, "Fucking no, take it off."
You know what? First I think
it was a fucking big baggy, saggy tits and saggy fucking guts. It wasn't a good thing.
What's the point, anyways? Because it's all coming off.
I do not do lingerie anymore, my friend.
I'm with you. Like it's a waste of time. It's a waste of fucking money. Damn it! I said it again. And my mom is laughing.
I bet she is.
Yeah. My mom's on.
Sorry, Mum.
Yeah.
Sorry for swearing, but it was a funny story.
Yeah, it's all right. My mom knows I cuss like a sailor. It's not normal. All right, hold on. I gotta see this is one of my good Marine Corps friends. What did he say? In the safety brief, they said, "Keep a low profile." My dumbass pits on a cowboy t-shirt, plaid cargo shorts, chucks, and aviators. Nice. Yeah, I'm with you, Jonathan. I did the same thing. He was talking about how, like, when I said I didn't dress the part, and when he went to the Middle East, same thing. Like,
but he also know that when you dress the part, you kind of get into character.
Yeah, well, if you know you're doing it,
you go to a ball game, and if you wear the kit, you get into character. It's the same in the army. When you wear your uniform,
but do you feel like that, like, though, when you go watch whether it's rugby or soccer or football, do you wear your team jersey?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you get
into it, like you're part of the team,
don't you? But it's the same in the
there's
army.
a lot of people in the U.S. that like get into this whole thing of like, if you're not a player, why are you wearing a jersey?
So in UK it's quite different because we definitely have the home and away.
We have
thing.
all these matches, and
we have the home and away thing. So people that's playing away often travel because it's not that far.
Yeah.
Whereas in Canada or America, you're going from one place to another, and all you've got is a home base.
Yeah.
That's all you've got, this home crowd.
Yeah.
And you might have 3 or 4 people that have moved for work, that have moved across the country. But apart from that, you've actually... And actually the Blue Jays, when you watch the Blue Jays play baseball, they're one of the few teams that I watch at baseball.
They throw shit on the field at people and stuff.
They've got supporters all around.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really kind of odd.
There's a lot of teams like that. All right. We're going to do what we always do to end this show, because I'm personally hungry. I really want to go eat the steak that's being held for us right now. Andy's been very gracious with his time. I hope you guys have all enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed just sitting here drinking with you. Like, we're just going to go do some more of this. But
and I'm not famous, but I hope you did enjoy it, people.
He's pretty famous. Don't let him bullshit y'all. Like, he's kind of famous. And when he comes to Texas, like, we're going to make a deal. I will come to Windsor, and you're coming to Texas as well.
That is the deal.
And we'll swap, and you can... You'll come to the Cigar Lounge. We'll do this again. We'll give them a part 2. And we'll really just get unhinged. And we'll have Biz to, like, keep us on track. But, so Biz doesn't chew my ass, even though, Biz, I do not see you on here. I'm going to give you a lot of hell when I get back. Because he gave me hell earlier today, making sure he was checking in. Are you okay? You figured it out? Like, are you good? Anyways, we do a thing on my show. So it's called Common Sense the Podcast. Mm-hmm. That way we can kind of talk about whatever.
Okay.
And common sense, I don't feel like a lot of people have common sense anymore.
You're right.
So
I agree with that.
kind of lets us just talk about everything. But I do a segment with every one of my guests at the end of the show. Now, here's the parameters. You can go wherever you want to go with this.
Yeah.
It's called Give Us Your 2 cents. Anything that's wearing on you, anything that's weighing on you, you can just share whatever you think or the 2 cents you want to give the audience about anything you feel.
Really, really simple. Be honest with yourself. There's no more. Be honest with yourself in everything you do.
Yeah.
You know, with your friends, with your wife, with your family, with your whatever it is, just be honest with yourself. I'm sorry.
That's
it's
good.
simple.
I mean, that's good. Like, some people want to vent about something, like there's something weighing on them, they don't feel like they said. Here's the platform. You can say whatever you want.
I've got nothing like that. It's just if you're honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Golf. We play golf.
Yeah.
And when the ball goes out of bounds and you're taking that extra shot.
Yeah.
You to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, there's a humbling piece. There's a humbling piece, isn't there?
Yeah.
Whether you take an 8 or a 9, does it fucking matter? It's a 9.
Yeah.
Just be honest with yourself, because that's what it took.
Put down whatever it is.
That's what it took.
You're only cheating yourself in the end.
Yeah, you are.
You're only cheating yourself.
And it is all the way through life, whether it's a simple game or whether it's
making your bed in the morning.
or whether it's a partner with your wife. I've never cheated on my wife. Never cheated on my wife. I've been close. No, but there's a point where you got to be honest with yourself. Is that really you as a person? Because you only get one shot at this life. One shot, my friend.
One.
You, me.
And you don't know when that shot ends.
We're only here once, aren't we?
Yeah. And you don't know when that's going to end.
You might as well enjoy it.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Love you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I mean, I'm going to scroll real quick just to make sure I don't see any other crazy questions y'all want to hear. Andy, thank you. I love you, brother. This is one of my boys. I hope y'all enjoyed this as much as we enjoyed doing this, because I know he had a blast doing this. We're going to go shut this shit off. Hopefully this saves. Y'all can go watch this whenever you want, because I know there's lots of people asking how to do this. Sorry, I could only do this on Facebook Live right now with what we're working with, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will do another show like this soon. We're going to go eat.
Thank you,
We're out. Y'all enjoy it.
My friend?
Yeah, for sure. Give me